We're under lockdown again, and you know what that means. It means all the jobs that I'm supposed to be doing for other people can't be done. Our entire country got locked down because one person tested positive. Anyway, not much we can do about that, so I'm just attending to all the little jobs that have been lying around here for some time that I haven't had a chance to do. One of them is my mate's motorbike seat here. He's doing all sorts of rebuild work on the bike, and while it's pulled to bits, he's decided to give me the seat to see what I can do with it. This is one of those Honda CRF 230s that they've been making for about the last 15 years. Great little bikes, perfect for teenagers and mums who aren't too serious with their riding. This one gets ridden every day on the farm, and the seat's taken a real beating. It's delaminated and split, but the foam's good, so I've pulled the cover off the foam, and I've noticed that the red parts are actually undamaged. But the foam was soaking wet, so I put it outside to dry in the sun. Come and have a look. The foam's out here on the landy drying out. It's not weather for it. It's midwinter, as you can see. The trees are bare and it's got a real chill in the air. But I'll try and get this seat to dry out a little bit before I cover it, and then I can just do this small repair here on the foam. Usually when a motorbike seat comes to me to be recovered, it's absolutely shagged, and I have a lot of remedial work to do on the foam as well. But this one's going to be dead easy, and it'll be a little bit interesting because I'm going to reuse these red parts. The red parts and the black parts are high frequency welded together in the factory. I can't replicate that. So what I've got to do is try the sharp knife and a pair of scissors and see which works best for trimming the two pieces apart. I think actually I'll stick with the knife. I'm going quite well with this. I've got to stick very, very close to the edge because I want a nice clean edge to work with, because when I sew it, I'm going to have to sew within about 3mm of this edge, otherwise I'll lose too much material and the red parts will be further down on the seat, and I'd have to enlarge the black piece to compensate for it, so it wouldn't look right. Doing it this way, the line will move downwards only by 3mm if I'm careful. So working my way along here from one end to the other, and then there's another little piece of black that's attached underneath, and that's the part that tucks under and has the staples through it. I've also got to keep that, so I'm coming up to this really tight corner piece here where I've got to do an aggressive change of direction, and that's where I'm going to get a little bit of puckering, but we'll see how that goes when I refit it. Just, you've got to do each step as carefully as you can. You remove it as carefully as you can, you trim it back as carefully as you can, you make your patterns and cut out your new pieces as carefully as you can, because honestly, 1/8 of an inch, 3mm. Look at that, eh? The hands of a skilled surgeon. No, they're not. They're the hands of a dirty, filthy blacksmith. But never mind. I'm getting this trimmed right on the edges as carefully as possible. And once I've got the black piece off, the next thing to do is fold the ends in half and mark the centre line. So there we go. That point there is the centre of the very front, and I'll do the same at the very back, and then lay it down. And I have to push out the unevenness as I trace around it. It's hard to do on a 20-year-old seat cover that's been stretched and pulled by the sun, but you've got to make every effort you can, because as I just said, 3mm, an eighth of an inch, makes a huge difference to the finished seat. You've got to be so careful to get it right. But mark where all your corners are, and then you can fill in the extras. And I'm going to cut 5mm around the outside of this line. 3mm of that 5 will be my seam allowance. The other 2mm is just to account for any of the shrinkage that there will have been, because after 20 years I know that it will have shrunk appreciably. It's not hard to do this work, so long as you pay attention to the details. The details are accuracy, getting it as close as possible to how the original one was. On seat covers can make quite a difference. You have to get the stretch even all over, otherwise you'll end up with puckering. And now, snippy. Nice sharp scissors. I bought these just the other day. They were $10, and they're a nice stainless steel set of 10-inch scissors. They've got good handles. I've got really expensive $60 and $70 scissors, but to tell you the truth, they're a bit heavy and clunky, and these nice new stainless slim scissors, lightweight, they don't hold their edge forever, but at $10 each you can go through several pairs a year and just biff them. I've got numerous pairs around the workshop. The best ones get used for this. The worst ones get used for cutting fiberglass matting and mesh. Sometimes I'll cut fine steel mesh with an old pair of scissors to get it to the right size. Right. So now we're having a good look at all the edges, making sure that they're clean and tidy, and that there's no little bits of thread hanging off them. I've got to glue a piece on the inside here because there's a wee puncture hole through the fabric, and I'm going to glue another piece on the inside to strengthen it before I do the work. Right, here we are at the sewing machine. This is a commercial machine on its own table, although there are some good quality domestic machines that if you put a big needle in them and use a stronger thread, you can do this kind of work. But I tackle a huge variety of different work, so some years ago I bought myself a commercial machine and set it up on a big bench, because almost every week I have some kind of sewing job that needs to be done. So as I said earlier, I'm going to start off here with a really tight 3mm, eighth of an inch seam allowance, just so that I don't lose more material than I have to. There we go, sewing done. Now I just need to staple the cover on. I've already whacked a few staples into it just to see how it fits. And once I've anchored one side down, I can then go round to the other side and pull against it. Get the thing nice and even all the way round. The seam between the black and the red is now 3mm further down. I doubt even if you park two bikes next to each other you wouldn't see. There's some loose parts that I'm going to attend to now. I've only got a few staples in there. I'm going to put some more staples in. Now this is my air stapler, which has got an extended nose, and that's great for getting down in between the plastic mouldings in the hard parts. If you're going to attempt this, it's a big improvement to have one of those. An ordinary flat stapler will work if that's all you have. I'm now just pulling out the looseness that you saw on that seam earlier on. Get some staples in along that edge. It's a matter of course to have to pull some of the first staples out that you put in just to hold it as you adjust it and get it sitting exactly how it should be. So keep a screwdriver handy and you can just pick out the odd staple that isn't doing its job properly, and then you can go over it and restaple it to pull out any small baggy parts. Doing this kind of work in the winter makes it a little harder because the vinyl isn't as pliable. If you can put it under a heat lamp or do it in the lounge in the evening when you've got a little bit of warmth into the air, it does make it go better. There are times when I get the heat gun going, but you've got to be very careful with the heat gun because the localized area can damage the foam underneath. Not a good idea. So try and warm the whole seat generally rather than one particular part of it. And then a bit of a massage to get everything in. That little bit of bagginess there, I'll have a go at just pulling some out with tightening up the cover, and the rest of it I'll do a little bit of localized heat gun work on it, and that'll pull those wrinkles out. So there you have it. Under an hour's work, about $12 worth of vinyl, and you've done a nice recover job on a dirty old farm bike seat, and it'll live to fight another day. And there you have it. Now, if rebuilding and repurposing and recycling and repairing is your kind of thing, why not subscribe to the channel? There's a button down below, and while you're down there, hit the like button as well. It all helps the channel. I really do appreciate you guys coming back and looking at my videos. There's always something new. See, there's that damaged part, completely gone. That was just a little bit of warmth from the heat gun.